I don't take advice from everyone, and I've not liked all of the people that I've taken advice from either. And to be a little bit more specific, I don't like everything about the people that I take advice from. I don't believe that's true for a lot of people, because everyone has their views on just about everything. And in some cases they have strong views, and some cases they have weak views, and sometimes you don't like the fact that they have a weak view or an impartial position. And there's a reason why I'm explaining this, and that's because sometimes the person that you need or the person that you want might not be completely aligned with everything that you stand for, and that's okay. In case you're new here, my name is Mohammed Adris, and on this channel I talk about everything that's worked for me in relation to Islam, family and business, because you're just going to take the advice that is suitable for you and works for you, and you implement that, and everything else you just ignore it. And you can probably say that's true for a lot of people, including all of you school teachers. I don't remember, I mean, there were one or two that I got on with quite well, but for the majority of them, I didn't like most of my school teachers. But I still respect the fact that they taught me a handful of things that have served me even today. And I believe the same thing applies for Quran and Islamic studies teachers. I don't really like all of them, but there's a handful that taught me some stuff that has still been applicable today. I haven't liked all of the personal trainers that I've had, but they've still taught me stuff that's helped me today. And the same rule applies to business. I don't like all of the people that I have paid and got guidance from to help me with certain parts of my business. I mean, it's a bonus if you do, but that hasn't been true for everyone. I haven't been that impressed with every single person that I've got advice from. And just because you don't like someone, it just makes you question, should I trust this person? Do I take their advice? Do I not take their advice? And to help you make that decision, and certainly has been true for me, is not that I have to like everything about this person, and should that have an impact on whether I trust them or not, but has this person done something or achieved something to a level that is what I want, or at least in the right direction? And that's exactly what's been the case throughout, meaning that I have sought advice from people who are 10 years younger than me, and in cases paid for it as well, because they've been able to achieve something in their business life that I haven't been able to achieve, and I've paid for it so that I can get that knowledge. And in some cases, I understood it within 5 minutes. I was like, why did I spend several £1,000s trying to do this? But that was the information that I needed to unlock the next phase of growth in my business. So when you consider where you want to go in terms of your career, like just career aspect on its own, like, do you want to be like Grant Cardone? Do you want to be like Tai Lopez? Do you want to be like Alex Hormozi? And you consider these three people on their own, all of who I consider as mentors because I have paid for some sort of mentorship or guidance from them, and just considering the advice that they might offer from a business perspective, I take it. So when I look at someone like Grant Cardone, who is like Marmite for most people, you either love him or you hate him, but I still respect the fact that once upon a time he was a drug addict and he changed his life around. He's a billionaire now, and he's married, he's got kids, and he takes his family with him everywhere. So if you've seen my other videos, you'll know that I'm really invested in my family, in my kids and their upbringing, and whatever advice Grant would give me in relation to how you manage your family expectations and the whole work-life balance scenario, I would take that advice, even though I'm not aligned with him on religious principles, on whether you should take out a loan or a mortgage, on some political positions. And then when I consider the equal and opposite, if I look at somebody like Alex, who I can probably relate to a little bit more, because as much as we very occasionally enjoy a few luxury items, we haven't got this like massive material void that I'm trying to fill with buying anything and everything that I can get hold of. But as much as I respect Alex as a business person, I certainly wouldn't take advice from him when it came to how you raise kids, because he doesn't have any kids. And that runs true even into friends and family, because everyone's always happy to come forward and say, this is what I think you should do. And then you look at the person, it's like, okay, that sounds like good advice, but why should I listen to you? And at one point I used to take a really firm position on this, like, I don't want to be like this person, so whatever advice they give, I'm just going to completely ignore it, because they haven't achieved anything that I want. Like, I don't want to have the relationship they have with their wife. I don't want to have the same kind of relationship they have with their kids. I don't want to have the kind of motivation that they have. I don't want to be like them from a religious perspective. I don't want to be like them when it comes to how they manage their finances and the things that they're attached to. And it's like, why should I take any advice from this person whatsoever? And then I came to a realization not too long ago that binging business information is a thing. Like, just like people binge watch TikTok videos, YouTube videos, and scroll through Instagram endlessly, there are people who will just binge watch and get through audiobooks, business books, and podcasts with no end in sight, and will just accumulate and acquire loads of business information. And that happened to me because some of the business books that I've read that had some of the biggest impact on my life were from some people who didn't even have businesses, but they recommended the book, and I took it and it worked. So I now take the position that if somebody is going to offer advice, I will take it with a pinch of salt, especially if I don't want to be anything like that person in any aspect of their life. But I will ask them to explain themselves and say, how have you arrived to the conclusion that this is the best next thing for me to do? And you'd be surprised at how many people might turn around and say, I listened to this particular podcast at this moment in time, and this is what they explained, and that I thought would be really valuable for you. For example, I was recently shared some information on freelancers who work on Upwork and how you can automate contacting new clients and customers on Upwork. And if you don't know what that is, Upwork is like a freelancing website where you can list yourself as a freelancer and you can post jobs and you can hire anyone in the world, and it's like protected quite well, but they also charge the users who are putting themselves up for freelance work, and it's usually a good place to go and find freelancers. But anyway, for the person who's a freelancer and they're looking for a new contract, what if you can just automate how many jobs you apply to, and the jobs that you apply to are accurate for what you do? And someone sent that documentation over to me. I've never done this. I've never been a freelancer. I've never considered it, never tried it, but I know of some businesses who win work in that manner. So I passed it on to them and I said, look, here you go. Came across this, and this is how you automate all that kind of stuff that you do. Does it make sense to you? And they appreciated it, and they said, look, that was really valuable information. Thanks for sharing it. Like, I haven't got a clue what was going on, but I understood that was something that they get involved in, and this piece of information will be valuable to them. So when somebody does give you advice, sometimes it might just be that they have a piece of information that they can relate to your circumstances, and they're sharing it with you, even though they may not have practiced it themselves. Now, the only thing that changes in that situation is you begin to question the credibility of that person, not the information that you're requiring. So then, on reflection, if you consider all of the different aspects of your life, if you consider business, you consider family, you consider any religious commitments, and then you look around and you think, who's the person that I want to be like? Maybe not in totality, but in that one aspect of my life. For example, I'm not there yet, but I'd love to be taking my family away on a private jet for holidays and visiting family and friends, something that Grant Cardone does, and he does it all the time. I also recognize that there's stepping stones in getting to that level. So how am I going to get to that level, if I'm deadly serious and committed to that goal, is by either learning directly from him, which is going to be quite an expensive investment, but certainly worthwhile, or can I consider somebody else who is maybe halfway there, or a quarter of a way there, or even a tenth of the way there, and that person can show me what's the next step in getting that same objective achieved. I'd happily pay for that advice because it's only going to help me get to the next step. And then at the same time, if I look at Alex Hormozi, who I've also been to see in person, and there is another video on my YouTube channel explaining what we did at the scaling workshop at acquisition.com. His advice is also valuable, but when I look at his working routine, he works 12 hours every day, 7 days a week. And he's literally working all the time, except for when he's at the gym and getting dessert. I don't want that lifestyle. Like, yeah, I'm hungry for it, and I want to grow, and I want to grow my business, but I certainly don't want that lifestyle. But fair play for him. Like, he's doing the thing that he enjoys all of the time. Whereas for me, I've got other interests. I really enjoy all the things that I do in business, but I also enjoy all of the things that I do from a religious perspective, and then I also enjoy all the things that I do from a family perspective. I kind of have to say that because my wife's going to be watching this video at some point, and one day my kids might be watching this as well. So I love you guys. I work all these hours for you guys, and that's something about me as well. I make fun of how much I actually don't like my family, even though I do like them. So that's just a little part of my personality. So now, on reflection, in terms of who you should and shouldn't take advice from, I'd say take advice from anyone and everyone. Just try and understand why they believe that advice is suitable for you. That doesn't mean you go out looking for it. It's just sometimes it comes to you. And certainly consider the advice that you can get from those who are older than you. Like, I'm in my 30s. if I live as long as the average person does, then I'm halfway through my life. I'd argue I've probably got more life experience than somebody who's half my age. But equally, I could probably get some advice from people who are double my age, because they'll be able to see things over a longer horizon of time compared to what I can, because I only have half the experience that they have. So once upon a time, I did used to take that position that, look, even if they're older than you, if I don't want anything like their life, I don't want to be like them, I probably wouldn't listen to them. But I've just come to realize that actually there's some things that they have got right, which is they've been able to get at least some things right in their life. And I'm saying that because there's this really big online culture of like, don't listen to your parents because if they're poor, don't take their advice, and having poor GCSE results is an unlock for you to being successful. It's like, no, having poor GCSE results just means that you didn't try very hard at school, and how skipping college and sixth form and university is going to help you unlock the next phase of your career. Like, at the end of the day, becoming an entrepreneur and a business owner is one particular route. There are other career routes that you can take through getting degrees. For example, becoming a doctor. Like, heck, imagine you become a specialist in eyes and then you go into laser eye surgery. Like, those guys are getting paid £1,000 an hour. And when you consider £1,000 an hour of income, like, that's 1.8 million a year that they earn. And that's assuming that they have full-time in terms of bookings for laser eye surgery. But if they're running their own practice, they're going to be making more than that. To become a laser eye surgeon, if you want to make $1 million a year, become a laser eye surgeon, you'll do that before 30. That's a route that you can take through a degree. However, if you are planning on becoming an entrepreneur and you plan on setting up your own business, then yeah, formal education isn't the best way to go about it. But becoming a failure at school is certainly not a stepping stone in becoming a good entrepreneur. And the point being, in relation to who you should and shouldn't seek advice from, I have to just relate it back to my own experience. If I'm going to start a new business, I probably wouldn't start it without a coach. Only because that coach is going to help me achieve possibly the exact same result, or even a little bit more than what I know, in a shorter time frame. And that's because in some cases, I've got advice and paid for it from people who are like 10 years younger than me. It's like, I don't think this guy knows more about business than I do. And in some cases, it confirmed it. But nonetheless, the guy still has, if you just consider the revenue in the business, they're doing better than me. So it's worth me learning and understanding what they're actually doing so that I can unlock the next phase of growth for myself, personally, professionally, and every other aspect. But I certainly wouldn't take marriage advice or how to raise kids advice from this guy who's 10 years younger than me and not married. And it's not necessarily that you have to pay for it every single time. It's just the information may well be there on YouTube. So go and find it. But the point is, take advice from those people who are a little bit further along in the journey compared to where you are. Even if you have that dream of having a private jet and the person that you're getting advice from isn't there either, but they're just 1 or 2 steps ahead of you, it's still worth investing in it. So that still does relate to me, meaning that I wouldn't start up a new business without a coach. Yes, it makes it a little bit more expensive than doing it on my own, but I'll get the results quicker. And whenever you consider any kind of stumbling block in your business, like you're trying to break through the next barrier of growth, or for any other aspect of your life, you getting the knowledge that is required to get through that barrier is what you need. And if you have to pay for it, so be it. It's going to get you there. That's the result that you want, don't you? Unless you're not committed to the goal. But there is one place that I wouldn't get advice from. And that is if one day something happened where I lost everything. No money, no business, everything completely collapsed. I'd start off again in recruitment. And given that I already have 10 years experience building to the size of team that I have, the revenue and profitability that we have, I'm very confident that if I had to start from scratch, then within 9 to 12 months, I could build a business with the team, with the infrastructure, with automations, with everything that is required to get it into that bracket of somewhere between 20 and 70k a month in revenue. Because I've done it before. I know exactly where I would go step by step, even though there might be newer ways to do it, but I know how to get there. Once I've got there, I'd then consider, okay, what's the next phase of growth in the business, and do I know how to do that? And if I don't, I'm going to be looking for somebody who can show me how to do it, because they may well have done it. So the point still remains, you don't have to like anything and everything about the person that's giving you advice. They may not have experience, but they may just be binge watching business content. So just ask for them to contextualize it. And for those people who do have experience in the thing that you want to do, even if they're just 1 step ahead of you, take their advice For example, if you want to become like Eddie Hall, World's Strongest Man, then take some fitness advice from another personal trainer who probably isn't going to charge you as much as Eddie, because at least it will get you in the right direction. And most importantly, getting somebody who can show you how to do something isn't a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a get-rich-quicker scheme, and there's loads of those, and they all work. Because if you are an entrepreneur and you're trying to build a business and you want to get to 20, 50, 100K a month, then you could just do it on your own. Read all the business books, go through all the YouTube videos, listen to audiobooks and podcasts. All the information is there. But to have somebody who is going to show you step by step how to achieve it in the shortest time frame possible, so that you can reduce your learning curve, is also worthwhile. Because if it takes you 12 months to build a business, and just say you have a very average month-on-month revenue growth, it will take you a year to hit 100K a month, or you can do it in half the time, and it might take you 6 months to get to 100K a month. So now you just got to work out how much money would you make in your first 12 months if you did it one way, which would take you a year to get to 100K a month, or another way which took you 6 months to get to 100K a month, because it's worth paying for, because the difference is close to 500,000, if not more. So that being said, take advice from people who have knowledge and experience of all aspects of life, and they're a little bit ahead of you. And that includes people that are older than you, because they can see things that you can't. Irrespective of whether you're 15, 20 or 30, you might feel like you have a lot of experience, but you don't have the life experience of somebody who's in their 50s and 60s. So now consider that in the same way in every other aspect. What about business? Who's further along than me? Should I take their advice? The answer should always be yes, irrespective of whether you like everything about that person. And having taken this viewpoint, it's really helped me in my professional life and personal life. And I only really adopted it in my late 20s. But when I consider what's changed both personally and professionally in the last few years, I feel like I've had more change happen in my life in the last 3 to 5 years than I have in any point before that, because it felt like I'd just been wasting time, like I could have just shortcutted my success. And this is the only one thing that I have that is a little bit of a problem with the schooling system, and that is that you're always taught to figure things out your own way, whereas in real life it's worth paying for a shortcut. Whereas if you're at university or you're at school and you pay someone else to do your exam or pay someone else to do your assignments for you, you're going to get into trouble for it. But in the real world, it's always worth paying somebody else to do it for you, because then you can go and work on other things. And that's all for now. See you in the next one.